Okay, to continue with the missions, I had to make a preserved milk, sadly, but we'll do it. And yeah, we'll continue with this. The Kissin has become sort of a celebrity in the palace. He is adored by servants and nobles alike, and he seems content to return their affection, everyone except Nazir's. He had been valiantly attempting to form a bond with the kitten, aptly named Pixie, and I say attempting because, well, he had yet to actually succeed. Outwardly, Nazir was as chipper as ever, but he had developed a habit of sighing deeply when he thought no one would notice. Despite the prince's talent for sneaking around, everyone noticed, so when I found Nazir yet again visiting the servants and the kitten, I decided to mediate their interaction. I had with me some milk, which I had planned to give to Nazir, who would hopefully give it to Pixie. If he wasn't charmed by Nazir's personality, I hoped that he could at least be bribed. Alright. Well, I didn't know that this one would be with Nazir, so instead the kitten cuddled up to me, purring loudly. I was equal parts delighted and distressed at this, delighted due to the kitten's company, and distressed at Nazir's raw, soulful expression as he was rejected once more. I imagine it was like sitting by a crackling campfire during the midwinter, equal parts toasty warm and bitter cold. I could not stand to see Nazir in such pain, so despite how happily Fireheart was purring, I suggested we head to class. Expression still brimming with melancholy, he agreed. I didn't know that would be with Nazir. Maybe it was on the thingy, on the synopsis of the mission. Leaning back in my chair, I look out the window despite the bright sunlight. The mess of documents on my desk demands to be cleaned up and worked on, but I can't seem to focus on it. It's such a beautiful afternoon. Knock knock. The soft sound of someone rapping at the door snaps me to attention. I bolt upright and scramble to clean up the mess of papers on my desk as Sala enters the study. Lady Rosencreuz. Sala, I'm sorry about the mess. She glances at me impassively. If I hadn't known her as long as I have, I might have missed the glint of surprise and amusement in her eyes. I cannot help the blood rushing to my cheeks. I feel like a child that's been caught by its parents. I'm sorry to disturb you. No, it's fine. What can I do for you, Sala? I'm here on Raphael's behalf. He is held up by treasury business, but he wanted to inform you about a new request as soon as possible. Ah, my thanks to the both of you. What kind of request is it? It's from the Merchants Guild, from Miss Viola Belmont. She will be travelling again in 5 weeks and wants an item made. Although she has not specified what kind of item. Oh? Her request asks for an item that can be mass-produced and sold as an Eskian specialty. That's rather vague. Vague is a bit of an understatement. It's especially difficult because I'm not Eskian. I don't suppose you have a suggestion, Sala? The homunculus lowers her gaze in contemplation for a moment before looking at me again. Perhaps a dish. Eskia may be a young country, but the people do have certain foods they've enjoyed since before the kingdom came to be. That's not a bad idea. Still, I'm not sure if Viola will have enough chefs in her travelling troupe. She could have the food prepared in advance too. It would be possible to keep dishes fresh throughout the journey if she has magicians or alchemists with her, however, she may not. Perhaps something that's commonly used by the people instead? Commonly. Perhaps glass beads? Glass beads? Glass beads are commonly collected by Eskia's people. Perhaps you can give them a personal touch, such as the emblems of the royal houses or Eskian flowers. That's a great idea, Sala. They're easy to manufacture and enchant. I'm happy to be of help. Do you think it will be possible to deliver them in 5 weeks? Hell yeah. Yes, that should be more than enough time. I will let Raphael know so he can deliver your reply in that case. I nod and finally finish sorting the documents on my desk into well-ordered stacks. Will there be anything else? I may have another request. My ears perk up. It's rather unusual for Sala to ask anything of me. Feel free to speak. If I can help, I will. It's actually regarding Prince Nazir. A few weeks ago you delivered an enchanted soup to Master Kabir of the White Hart Tavern, correct? You've heard about that. I give Sala a nod of acknowledgement and she continues, placing a letter in front of me. Master Kabir has taken an interest in food enchantment ever since and requests a recipe for something more complex like a noodle stew. I already have that. It seems he's been testing out many things on his own, none of which worked as intended. Well, alchemy is hard to learn, especially without guidance. Otherwise, I wouldn't be teaching the princes. But do I want to share my knowledge with the common folk? Yeah, just do it. It is harmless knowledge in the first place, and the more things people can do for themselves, the more time I will have to use as I see fit. Alright, I can test out some things and give Master Kabir the recipe. Thank you, Lady Rosencruz. That will be everything. Thank you for your time. Thank you, Sala. With a graceful bow, Sala excuses herself from the room. There are a few things more pleasing to the eye than craftsmen hard at work. When the chief carpenter asked me for some enchanted wood to expand the library, I couldn't deny him. A corner of the room is covered in heavy cloth to shield the rest of the library from the sawdust. The carpenters and their apprentices work to raise the impressive shelves. My enchanted wood planks lie in a neat stack, shining from the various alchemical ointments I had the apprentices rub into the wood. Apparently, without my enchantments, the shelves would need to be made of much thicker wood to hold the weight of heavy tomes. The renovations came as a bit of a surprise to me, but it is a pleasant one. The need for more shelves meant they had acquired more books. Consequently, it results in new things to read. After studying the carpenter's work for a while, the dust and the shouting become too much to endure, and I escape, pushing through the white cloth to return to the quieter parts of the library. It is empty, largely due to the noise of the people at work. Round in the corner, however, I find an unexpected company in the form of Prince Serin, bent over open books and pieces of parchment spread out all over the round reading table. Serin looks focused, and the sound of the carpenter's shouting, though muted in the distance, must have masked my footsteps. He hasn't noticed me. I stop and watch him for a while, noting the slight crease on his forehead, the look of concentration. The table is covered in maps, charts, and various instruments used for measurement. His graceful fingers trace over the map as he quickly jolts down notes with a quill. When Serin looks up to grab for another parchment, he finally spots me. Good afternoon, Your Highness. Good afternoon, Valkii. Returning my smile, Serin gently gestures me to come closer. I didn't think I would find anyone in the library today. Prince Serin glances in the direction of the noise with a sheepish smile and nods. It would be rather hypocritical of me to be bothered by something I ordered, I think. Ah, so it was you. I did wonder where the funds for the new books came from. Books are expensive, and choosing to invest in them is not a choice made lightly. Yet if anyone would see value in learning, it was Serin. Sliding into the chair opposite to Serin's, I eye the scrolls sprawling across half of the table. Every one of them are maps of Eskia, some are small, others are big, old and new parchment drawn on by different hands. I frown for a brief moment, unsure why Serin would be studying the geography of the kingdom when he already knows it like the back of his hand. Then I remember our encounter a few weeks ago at the temporary market, and the realization hits me. Are you considering the matter of the Eskian trade routes? I am, as always, in awe of your remarkable perception and intelligence, Valkii. Serin sets down the quill in his hand, careful not to let any ink splatter onto the parchment he was writing on, and looks at me with a smile. I have been looking for a solution to the problem of the spring floods. As a result, I am tentatively making plans for new trade routes leading into and out of Eskia. I see. I peer over the scattered notes that have yet to dry. Changes to the roads, formulas, calculating adjusted travel times, elevation, the time needed for completion, and small symbols I don't quite understand. Most impressive, Your Highness. Geography is clearly your strong suit. However, what are those? Serin blinks in surprise, then follows my line of sight until he sees the small symbols he had drawn. Oh, yes, those. While studying the map, I remembered the problem of beasts and bandits threatening the safety of the people. Serin reaches out to gently point at a few of the symbols he has added. I thought it would be a good idea to build more watch posts throughout the kingdom and dispatch specially trained guards to look after them. Perhaps this would reduce the casualties and avoid unnecessary losses of lives. Leaning closer, I sweep my gaze across the map. Most watch posts appear to be concentrated in rural areas, and I nod with approval. It's clear that the prince has put quite a lot of thought into this, and I have no doubt that this project will be greatly beneficial to all of Eskia. Additionally, I will have the soldiers training young recruits in times of peace. I believe this would create more work opportunities, and the children, once they grow older, may join if they wish to. You have been worrying about everyone. Though, Your Highness, I'm afraid there is another concern. Please do not be afraid to speak. This project would require thousands, if not tens of thousands of coins to be poured into it if it were to have any measure of success. As such, I'm afraid this proposal may be met with resistance by other nobles at court. Serin considers my words for a brief moment before nodding in agreement. You are most likely correct, Valkii, and I am aware of this possible obstacle. However, this is still something I would like to establish once I am crowned. I shall find a way to see it through. Very admirable, Your Highness, and you shall have my full support. I'm very glad to hear that. A smile tugs at Serin's lips, and his eyes seem to brighten up just slightly, but one moment later he frowns, tapping the sea chart. The land routes I am quite familiar with. Sea routes are the difficult ones. Perhaps I will need to question the merchants traveling them. These maps sadly don't help much. This one, for example. I glance at the sea chart he's pointing at. Hic sunt dracones, here be dragons. I cannot help the chuckle escaping my lips, partially due to Serin's worried expression. He looks like he might believe dragons are lurking in the Eskian coastal waters. I saw no dragons on my way to the kingdom, Your Highness. That would have been quite the discovery. Due to my teasing tone, Serin averts his eyes, with a slight flush colouring his cheeks, subtly returning to the subject. There are shallows, currents, winds, and tides, so many things I would need to find out about. Yet I have never as much as put a foot on a sea-going vessel. I see. I cannot say I've spent much time trading on the sea, but I have travelled by sea before. If my memory serves right, your hometown is located on an island. Yes, Your Highness. The High Council is stationed on Chimes, a mid-sized piece of land in the midst of an endless blue, with the ever-present sound of waves crashing against white cliffs. The spark of interest in Serin's eyes doesn't go unnoticed. Perhaps you could visit one day. I would even find time to show you around the island. We could visit more markets and embark on another journey of taste. I flash him a cheerful wink, to which he responds with a chuckle that sounds half-hearted. The invitation sounds wonderful. Serin's smile turns bittersweet, and I can hear the but without him saying it. He can hardly spend an afternoon away from the palace. It's hard to imagine how an extended trip to my home island would fit in his agenda. How difficult it must have been for Serin to give up his passions and dreams for the responsibilities brought by his birthright. The duties he never asked for but had no choice but to spend his life fulfilling. I completely understand and expected it, yet for some reason, the thought stings, leaving a small ache within me that I can't quite describe. Perhaps sensing the change in my mood, Serin speaks up again. His gentle voice is so warm and soothing it almost makes my heart ache worse. Tell me about your journey. Tell me about the places you rested at, places of danger, what the weather was like. Of course, everything I remember. But feeling compelled to speak, I pulled tales off the top of my head. Despite the inanity of my words, it seems like I have no problems holding his interest, if the attentive way he continues peering into my eyes is any indication. Head sticking close in order to be heard over the sound of the craftsman, we spend the afternoon plotting out journeys across the seas marked with "Here be dragons." Cute. They cute. They fucking cute. They fucking cute. Let's have a look at the daily life. Oh, look at this. Look at this. I still don't know what the fuck these are. I don't think we're ever gonna find out. Perhaps if he wasn't born to become a king, Serin would have had a different dream to fulfill. True. Have we met everyone yet, even? I didn't check. No, we're missing 2 people. Okay, right. I need to make the bauble thingies. Well, they don't even cost much. Thank you, Aurelius. And, well, I can't give the cat the glass beads I just made. Wait, proper attire, colourful cloth. Okay, so I have everything for a while, so I should be able to make the coloured cloth so that I can do that one. Even though I'm broke as fuck right now. But this is a Serin one, so... Although Prince Serin was, of course, to be the star of his own coming-of-age ceremony, as the royal tutor I was also expected to make a suitable impression. This necessitated the commission of a new dress, so I made time to meet with the tailor. I was going to do this, and I was going to do it well. I sorted through some fabric samples at the tailor's, velvet, silk, satin, lace, but the thought of creating something using my own magic rose unbidden to the forefront of my consciousness again. I left quickly, my mind reeling with ideas. Using alchemy, I would not only be able to combine colours and fabrics to suit my tastes, but the act would also make a statement. I would look skilled, elegant, and hot. After testing out many samples of alchemically synthesized cloth, I bought larger quantities of my final choices back to the tailor, along with some very odd specifications. I was, of course, courteous, as was befitting of my station, but in the end I felt as if the tailor was glad to be rid of me. However convoluted the process was, I eventually found myself wearing the finest garments I had had the pleasure of donning. The ceremony was about to begin. My attire turned heads, to say the least. It so elegantly complemented my silhouette, my complexion, and my station. Even Prince Serin was surprised at its beauty as much as someone as composed as him can look surprised. During the festivities after the ceremony, the prince invited me to dance. The nobles and servants alike were positively dazzled, although none were more swept away than I. Okay, I hardly had time to even contemplate my lack of skill at dancing, so caught was I in the prince's elegance combined with my own. Despite my reservations and the strange heat under my collar that accompanies so many of my interactions with the prince, it was certainly a night to remember. Oh, what? Okay. What have you done with your hair? It's splendid. Oh dear, that's an inner circle secret, not for the likes of you. But I hurry past the two noblewomen. One has a telltale shine to her hair that could only have come from my conditioner. Apparently, they've started calling it unicorn's tears. Despite all the time I've spent in the palace, the way the court works still surprises me. Somehow, some simple conditioner has become a way to gain social capital. I pat my pocket where I've hidden the latest bottle of the stuff and wonder what the two ladies would do if they knew I was the one manufacturing it. I had a feeling it would devalue it. I am only a tutor after all. Lady Serin handing out mystical bottles of unicorn tears seems to be what makes it exciting for everyone. I will not be able to keep making conditioner for her forever, since the process is quite time-consuming. I suppose, if nothing else, it's interesting to see it's had an impact beyond just the quality of Lady Serin's coiffure. As I near House Nathahira's apartment, one of the largest in the palace, I hear voices and slow down. They sound vaguely familiar, and on instinct I soften my footsteps. Oh, my lady thinks we spoke out of turn? I happen to think a little honesty in this den of vipers is a good thing. Not that we'd ever call you the mother snake in the middle of the den. Yes, that would be terribly rude, which we try not to be, right? Why, of course, I have to say some others could try not being rude too. Gentlemen, your behavior in this court is beastly, and that is really saying something. You will stop with this incessant rumor-mongering and gossiping at once, do you hear me? She sounds exasperated, but there is a worn-out edge to it. Despite not exactly being on good terms with Lady Serin, I cannot help but sympathize with her. These nobles must have been spreading nonsensical rumors again. Oh, is Baroness Nathahira getting tired? Oh, don't be so hard on her. Baronesses usually only get to order around their pages. I blink, utterly speechless at the noble's blatant mockery, and at the same time surprised by Serin's lack of response. For one moment I consider stepping in. After all, I know these nobles' annoying ways too well. However, seeing it that way, I think it is time we take our leave and not bother you further. Adieu, my lady. I round the corner just in time to see the three lords bow as they leave, every movement carefully measured so as to be mocking without being blatantly disrespectful. When they see me, they all turn up their noses in unison and march off as if escaping a foul odor. As they pass, I notice the hair on one of them is shinier than the rest. So you insult her to her face but use the products she hands out. Before I have more time to consider this, Lady Serin turns towards me. Despite her obvious annoyance, she graces me with a nod as I approach. My lady? Make it quick, my head hurts. She glances in the direction of the three lords left, her expression withering. Your ladyship has ordered more, unicorn's tears? I pull the bottle from my pocket and hand it over to her. For a moment, the cloud lifts from her face and she takes it. Some good news, at least. My thanks, Alchemist, for saving me the trouble of collecting it myself. Her almost kindness gives me the courage I need to indulge my curiosity. I cannot help but wonder. A bottle like this should normally last several months. For a moment, it seems like she might admonish me for my impertinence, but instead her expression softens ever so slightly. How observant of you. Yes, it is true I have been sharing it with others. You need to understand that in my circles, appearance is everything. She looks at me and I feel like her gaze judges every piece of lint, every faint pinprick of grease on my collar, and every speck of dirt on my boots. But don't worry, Lady Rosencruz. Like everything else, unicorn's tears are simply a fad, one I have created and made use of course, but still only in fashion for the time being. I nod, anticipating her next words. So you won't require any more conditioner? This will suffice, you've served me well. She gives me a tight-lipped smile, and I understand it is time for me to leave. As always, I'm happy to be out from under her gaze. As I make my way out of the noble's quarters, I cannot help but feel a certain amount of sympathy toward Lady Serin. She's haughty and demanding in a way I cannot get along with, but it's quite possible her upbringing or the expectations placed on her had a hand in that. Alright, where are we at now? Oh, okay. Fair enough. We only have 33 for the noble's approval, which I think is crap, but whatever. I scratched my ear or something. Alright, so I don't think we need to do anything for a little while. Let me have a look here. Let me have a look at my stuff again. Alright, I still think I'm good for a lot of things. I don't know if I want to do some more missions, but maybe I should. Isn't there a... Ooh, Serin has gotten a very ancient tome as a present and needs help deciphering it. Okay, cool. Do it. Scouring his mountains of lavish gifts for something useful was something that Prince Serin accomplished fairly quickly. He approached me soon after his ceremony and presented me with a handsome leather-bound book that he needed my assistance deciphering. It appeared to be a journal of sorts, written by a traveller that might be dead. My initial analysis revealed that its dictation dated back to decades past. Unfortunately, it did not reveal much else. The writing was so full of colloquialisms that it was nearly impossible to parse. Eventually, I thought to cross-reference the text with some older pieces Prince Serin found in the library. Over the course of many sleepless nights and ungraded essays, we managed to decipher a large portion of the journal. It originally belonged to a quirky travelling bard who, despite their nebulous origins, performed for rather illustrious clientele, nobles, kings and queens. This clever character made their way into many foreign courts with only their wits and charisma. Embarrassingly, the journal seemed to serve as a record of the bard's countless trysts. However, interspersed between the lovers, it also contained then volatile court secrets written in code. Cool. Curious, Prince Serin and I scanned the journal for any mention of Eskia. There were many mentions of our country towards the end. Apparently, before they left the country, they acted as a very temporary informant for the king's revolution by revealing the secrets they had seduced from corrupt Eskian nobility. The journal ended there, although we were not worried. There was a mention of being out of paper. The knowledge we had gained was quite valuable, but nothing compared to the satisfaction of a good story. Nice. Alright, I don't think I need to know anything for the next day. Let me get OBS back up. My neck burns with the magic needed to keep the iron bars light enough to carry, nearly as much as my arm muscles burn from their weight. Lessening one burn means increasing the other, so I teeter between the two pains. All the while, I found myself wondering if this was really such a good idea. Whatever their use, I know Harris requested the bars by today. Unfortunately, I couldn't find him anywhere, so I decided to drop them by his chambers. He lives in the nicer part of the servants' quarters, which isn't too far from the nobles' apartments. I have a rough idea of where it is, but all the doors look alike, and I find myself wondering. Cursing my stupidity, I round a corner and nearly crash into Marigold. She yelps as if caught red-handed. I do too, because somehow one of the iron bars slips from my grasp. The moment it leaves my arms, the magic keeping it light ceases its effect, so the bar falls with a thud mere inches away from Marigold's foot and cracks a floor tile. Oh no. Lady Rosencruz? Are you alright? With wobbly arms, I lay the rest of the bars down. They immediately slide into an unruly heap, but my body thanks me for finally letting it rest. I'm so sorry, I didn't see you there, and... I inspect the ground, and yes, the tile is definitely shattered. I pick up one of the shards and sigh. Why are you carrying so many iron bars? Realizing what a mess I must look like, I quickly straighten up and ask her the first thing that pops into my head. Why are you skulking? I spot a nameplate on the door. Harris, lucky. Outside Harris's room. Instead of offering a reasonable explanation, like the fact that she presumably lives nearby, Marigold develops a deep crimson blush. My blind swing must have connected. I'm not skulking, I'm just cleaning. That's when I notice the mop and bucket. However, Marigold looks so guilty I can't help but feel there's something else going on here. You're cleaning Harris's room. Is he not here? She shakes her head and leans back on her heels, then steals a glance at the door. It's the same hungry glance she gave my books the very first time we met. Well, I am delivering these iron bars to him, so... Her eyes suddenly light up in a rather unexpected way. So, you've got permission to go into his room? Eh? She gazes at the door, and I finally realize what she must have been doing when I came around the corner. She was trying to peek through the keyhole. Because, well, nobody ever gets to go inside Sir Harris's room. He cleans it himself and never has guests. So, you're telling me nobody knows what Harris's room looks like? Marigold bobs her head up and down, her eyes drawn to the closed door like metal to a lodestone. Her curiosity rivals my own. I guess it's expected that Harris wouldn't let anyone into his private space. Surely he has nothing to hide, but even after knowing him for such a long time, I still have no idea about his hobbies and interests. Perhaps a little peek would help me understand him better. It's not like he ever told me not to look. Well, I mean, I can't just leave these iron bars out here in the corridor, can I? Understanding my intentions, Marigold's face breaks into an excited grin. Oh no, of course not. And you need someone to help you carry them in. Yes, how lucky I am that you were here. I'm lucky I have the master key, you know, for cleaning. She produces it from her front pocket, grinning like a pixie. Cannot help but match her expression. Well then, let's do this. I lean down to pick up one of the iron bars when a shadow suddenly falls over us both. I look up to see Marigold glancing over my shoulder with wide eyes. Ahem. Raphael's gentle cough makes me drop the bar I was trying to pick up and jump to my feet. I whirl around to face him. Dare I ask what the two of you are up to? I was just... We both go quiet at the same time. Raphael stands there, one eyebrow slowly rising. I notice Marigold slip the master key back into her pocket. I was going to clean Sir Harris's room, but I forgot that he cleans it himself. The iron bars, Harris needed them, but of course, now that you are here, you can just... Marigold and I glance at each other, babbling our excuses at the same time. I have to go and, teach. Let Harris know about the iron bars, will you, Raphael? Apologies, I have to... Marigold glances at the broken floor tile. I need to get a mason. Good day to you, Sir Raphael. We both take off down the corridor, nearly shoulder to shoulder, leaving an amused Raphael behind. Once we're out of earshot, we stop and flounder in uncertainty for a second. Marigold, I notice, looks especially guilty. I do hope Sir Raphael doesn't think less of me because of this. Don't worry, we didn't actually do anything. I wince. Well, I suppose I did ruin the floor. At that, Marigold looks even more dejected. Oh yes, I do need to get a mason, otherwise Sir Harris will start asking questions. A thought strikes me. Actually, I might have an idea. It requires a bit of water and fire magic, plus some time. We set a time to return to Harris's door. By then, the iron bars are all gone. Either Harris returned at some point, or Raphael somehow had access to Harris's room. The door, however, remains closed. Transmuting the shattered tile back into the clay it came from is easy. The hard part is shaping it. Thankfully, it's just the one. Marigold watches over me as I work, sometimes stealing glances at the door. I see her frown and look closer at the lock. Ah, the master key wouldn't have worked anyway. Excuse me? She points at the lock. This one's different. Sir Harris must really value his privacy. I nod, like master, like servant, I suppose. Under my fingers, the glazing process on the final bit of clay completes. There, like new. Marigold inspects my handiwork and nods approvingly. Now I know who to call when there's some small repair work needing to be done. I blink, not entirely certain if she's being serious or not, but she seems grateful. Presumably I've saved some servant quite a lot of work by doing this myself. Well, back to work. Oh, and she grins and nods at the door. If you ever do get in there, you need to tell me what it's like. And the same goes for you, Miss Marigold. We separate and go back to our different tasks, no doubt happier than before. Okay. Was there another one? I just don't know what one has anything to... Oh, Serin. We can do this one. Oh, I see. This is a beauty check, right? And this is an etiquette check because it's Aurelius. So maybe anything with a charisma or intellect? I don't know. This is Nazir, obviously. Okay, I don't really know, but we're doing mailing service. The Royal Mailing Service had gotten new birds and new recruits. I was asked to teach them how to use light magic, the magic of mind and emotion, to train the birds more effectively. I was a bit confused at the request, for I am an alchemist with no particular expertise regarding birds. An alchemist is most trained in fire and water magic. Surely it would be more worthwhile to ask a proper light mage, an expert in the field, for assistance. Then it dawned on me. This was likely a test endorsed by the mages that had coveted my position as royal tutor. I was ill-suited for the job, but it seemed like I would have to perform it nonetheless. I could only hope that my light magic was convincing and that my invigorating natural charm worked on the messenger pigeons. When I arrived at the aviary, I was greeted by some trainees who briefed me on what they were trying to accomplish. After some light, conversation, I began to work with the birds. They chirped pleasantly at me and one even perched on my hand. The occurrence made me feel like a princess out of a fairy tale. To my surprise, the metaphor my mind had conjured began to manifest, sending a certain light-attuned prince to our assistance. Prince Serin volunteered his assistance, and despite the apparent confusion at the Crown Prince doing such a thing, no one was quite prepared to stop him. In the end, I dare say the whole group was thankful, as the prince was apparently more attuned to mind and emotion than one would expect, and those who could have trained the birds on their own were grateful for the view. I saw my fair share of swooning recruits as the iridescent birds fluttered around him in the sunlight. Okay, but I will be stopping for today, and I will pick this up again tomorrow because I actually look forward to playing this, which is why I can't stop playing it, even at a detriment to the time and my sleep. So yeah, I will see you then. Bye!